On the left is the PK version, Travis Scott 10-0. The one on the right is LJR's, two senior and established factories making tees pairs. Let's take a look at the differences between the two. In the blink of an eye, the TS collabs have reached their 10th iteration. Some people also call these shoes Reverse 2-0, and they look quite stunning. I personally really love this colorway. The biggest highlight this time is that it's the first pair of tees shoes made entirely with top grain leather. The texture and comfort are top-notch, and it's also relatively easy to maintain. Colors used are basically just white and blue, which is simple and versatile. The downside is that after prolonged wear, the leather easily forms large creases at the bending points. The two best versions of the TS 2-0 back then were PK and LJR, which is also why we chose these two for the TS 10-0 comparison today. If neither of them gets it right, there's basically no need to look at other factories. First, let's talk about the toe box perforations. PK's punching has always been very regular. The shape is perfectly round, very clean, and the holes are relatively deep. LJR's punching depth is relatively shallow, and its punch shape is often a bit skewed. Today's pair is decent, though the holes on this side have already become oval. On the other hand, PK's perforations, even the outermost ones, are still very round and regular. In this aspect, PK indeed did a better job. LJR isn't the best in every single aspect. Don't always view it through a rose-tinted filter. Next, looking at the leather, PK uses large grain top grain cowhide. When pressed, you can see a very obvious change in the grain and wrinkles, and it feels very soft and bouncy. LJR also uses top grain cowhide, but its texture is very solid and firm. There's little to no grain change when pressed. Compared to PK, the difference is quite significant. After all, PK is well known for being generous with premium leather. However, the authentic leather is actually as firm as LJR's. As seen from the cross-section of the leather, both factories use quite thick materials. When the PK factory goes to purchase leather, they always pick soft parts like the cow's belly. In contrast, LJR purchases firm parts like the cow's back, which makes their material cost even higher. Soft leather is easily scratched by sharp objects. Hard leather is more scratch resistant and more durable. It also looks firmer on the outside, with a very structured and three-dimensional shape. This time, the sole features a pre-oxidized aged effect, and the degree of oxidation is similar. This time, LJR's sole doesn't look overly yellow. From the side, PK's toe box slopes backward, with a large curve, making the overall lines very appealing. The upper accurately restores the low-profile toe box. LJR's toe box curve is relatively straight, and the overall shape is a bit blocky. Its upper also correctly achieves the low-profile restoration. Comparing them side by side, the difference is more intuitive. PK's toe box curve definitely looks more pleasing. This once again proves that LJR doesn't perfect every single detail. Looking at previous Travis Scott reverse mochas, this is the first time a lace buckle design is added. Makes the whole pair look much more playful. Both factories apply the correct waxing process to the laces, and their reflection is clearly visible under the light. It comes with 3 extra pairs of laces that can be swapped to match your outfit, and offering great playability. Another detail is on the tongue. The 2 woven labels should correctly sit tight together with no gap in between. Initially, almost all factories got this wrong on their first batches. It was only gradually corrected later on. The heels of the 2 are also quite distinct. PK features a bucket waist with the top and bottom widths almost the same, but it's done just right and doesn't look bloated. AR features its signature small waist. Because it has a pinched waist, it is narrow at the top and wide at the bottom, shaped like a triangle. By comparison, the waist is slightly too narrow, which is very recognizable. As for the English embroidery on the left shoe, there is a slight connecting line between the letters C and A. An incorrect version would connect the 2 letters completely. Both PK and LJR got this right. This time, the Cactus Jack Grimace logo on the reverse Mocha 2-0 is a smiley face, hinting that sales of recent generations are not bad. If they mistakenly made it a crying face, then you really couldn't wear it out. On the LJR version, the few hairs on the right side of the Grimace are not connected, and the ink is clear and distinct. The hair on the Grimace of the PK version is all connected together. Although I envy your hair volume, this still needs improvement. The LJR version is closer to the authentic pair. This time, PK reduced the depth of the Grimace, embossing on the 10-0, making it look more natural. The unevenness is very noticeable to the touch. This time, the Grimace embossing on the LJR is visible to the naked eye and is made super deep. If you like deep embossing, you can choose this one. The wings logo embroidery on the heel is all computerized and fully stitched. There are basically no flaws, and you can feel its 3D effect when you touch it. Secondly, the gaps within the entire embroidery shouldn't be too large, especially the blue gaps between the letters, which should be as small as possible. LJR has a high level of precision with a clear fraying effect on the edges. The embroidery on PK is also fine overall, but compared to LJR, the blue gaps between the letters are slightly larger, though the difference is not huge. You wouldn't notice it unless you were lying on the ground. LJR's Travis Scott Wings logo embroidery is arguably the best in the industry. Interested friends can compare it with the retail pairs. PK and LJR are also very similar in shoe shape. Both left and right shoes curve inwards. Curving inwards, cooling and shaping these steps are essential. Although the shoe lasts and molds are definitely not original. The data parameters of the retail versions have long been leaked. PK's collar shape is U-shaped. LJR's collar shape is closer to a V shape. This is because its heel has a tapered waist design, as mentioned earlier, and with LJR like this. The overall collar is also tighter. The inner padding of the two is almost identical. PK's stitching on the Strobel board has always been textbook in Anfu. Every thread is tight, and the length and spacing are almost equal. Now, let's look at LJR. The stitching lengths vary, and the spacing is inconsistent. It looks quite messy, you might not even believe this is their standard level. They actually used to be very neat, but it's been a bit abstract these past 2 years. PK's glue brushing covers about 2/3 of the area, while LJR's is more, covering about 4/5. The first glue line on the retail version is also incomplete. Both PK and LJR have replicated this correctly, but as for why it's like that, I really don't know. Through the above comparisons, I believe you all have an answer in mind. LJR is undoubtedly doing the best so far. They truly live up to their reputation as detail maniacs. Of course, they still have a few areas that need improvement.